Hello, and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And I'm Meg Hopdahl.
And today we're talking about Anna and the Apocalypse. Meg, we saw each other right before all of this stuff went down, and we knew it was going to happen, and what a time to be alive. This is such a strange time.
It is. It's like living in, I know a lot of people said it's like living in a sci-fi movie or horror movie. And I mean, obviously I feel lucky that I'm in my house with my family and we're all healthy right now, but I think everyone's sort of processing it in a different way. And I think it's kind of interesting how the art people are kind of seeking out. Like, some people are going for Contagion and Outbreak. That's what they want to watch. And other people are going I think I'm kind of going the opposite, where I'm watching Jane Austen. So I think it's just kind of fascinating to see how people cope as far as the art they choose to, or the media they choose to consume.
It's true, and I am one of those people. I'm actually on both ends of the spectrum, which I don't know what that says about me, but I did find comfort in watching some of those scary, realistic movies because, like I said on our episode about it, it made me feel better because it's okay, people have thought about this, and experts, do know things, and so, okay, they have thought about this. But on the other hand, I'm watching a lot of crappy movies from my childhood, 80s and 90s movies, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah, those always help. I know. I'm watching, I think I told you I'm watching the 6th episode, Colin Firth, Pride and Prejudice.
Perfect.
And it makes me feel so good. It's like chicken soup for the soul, as they say. But I was watching it last night, and Dexter came in, and he's like, "Oh, this looks old." And I said, "Yeah, it takes place during the 1860s." And he's like, "Oh, when was it made?" And I said, 1995. And he's like, "Yeah, I can tell it was made in the 1900s.
Oh my gosh.
And I just thought about kids like him who live now who refer to the 1990s as the 1900s.
Wow.
It's that whole century is just a throwaway.
Oh boy. It's true.
Yeah.
It feels like a lifetime ago. And I saw that you liked this on Twitter. It was social distancing, Jane Austen style, because truly that hand touch and that pinky touch, it's so forbidden now, and it's even sexier.
It is. It's so forbidden. There's going to be so many good romances coming out of this, and horror, I'm sure, too. But, there's going to be some good books and movies made about people who are, self-isolating. My friend the other day, we were talking on Skype, and she was like, well, she all of a sudden came up with the scenario of what if you had to self-isolate in a trailer with one of the Skarsgård brothers. It was so random, but she's like, what if you had to? And then all the other friends, we were all coming into the scenario of how that would work out. But
do you get to pick which brother?
Yeah, we had to pick which brother, and then we were just talking about, for the better of humanity, we'd have to, stay in that trailer for, 3 months with him.
Yeah.
And, I'm just saying that should be a movie.
Yes. There's so many creative possibilities that are going to come out of this. Absolutely. Now, I've been watching all sorts of things, and I saw Anna and the Apocalypse. It was on Hulu, and it's on Amazon, and I have not watched it yet, and I'm like, what has been holding me back? Well, apparently it's time, because now I have the time, and I wish I had watched it earlier. It's a horror musical. There's romance, there's comedy. It's kind of like Shaun of the Dead meets Night of the Living Dead, and which I know that's kind of redundant, but it's also Once More with Feeling from Buffy, that musical episode. I loved it so much, and there's so much gore.
Yeah, well, I saw the description that they were promoting with it was Shaun of the Dead meets La La Land.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was interesting. Yes, okay, so first, you told me about it, and I was like, yeah, sold. So I went to watch it, but I forgot between the time you told me about it and when I started watching it that it was a musical. So when the musical, the first song started, I was so excited, and it was just this delight because I completely sort of just compartmentalized that. So that was such a happy, joyful sort of thing that I forgot about. And then the gore, I love it really starts to get gory in the bowling alley scene.
Yes.
when they have to start killing these zombies that come in, and I was like, okay, now I'm really happy because, you know, even though there had been some gore before then, that part to me was like, okay, this is for real, and I was so ready and excited. What a great mashup!
Oh, so good. And this came out in 2017. It's 77% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It didn't make much at the box office, and I know it was kind of like a sleeper hit, but it's got a cult following now. John McPhail directed it, and it was written by Alan McDonald and Ryan McHenry. Now, I was looking through their IMDb stuff, nothing much else, but guess what? This was so solid, and the music was good, too.
Yeah, I thought the songs were really good, and as they were going, I was, excited to sort of, as we... You know, because first the movie starts out and it's sort of about teenage angst and those kind of things. So the music was very much aligned with that. And then as we go deeper into the movie, I was excited for, the actual, horror contrast with the songs. And it was done really impeccably well. Songwriting to me is always this mystery. I have no idea how people do it. So I thought that was so well done. And, the fact that it was in the UK, it definitely had that Shaun of the Dead vibe. But also, I felt like they did a few nods to Shaun of the Dead. There were a couple of little scenes. What do you think?
Yes, for sure. Even the whole thing when they're singing with their earbuds and they're not aware of what's going on around them. I thought that was really, it's so funny and it's so dark, and it absolutely Shaun of the Dead. I'm in my own world and I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it was done well, and it was, done in its own way, especially with the music, but it definitely felt like a nod because it's just Shaun of the Dead for me. And yeah, I thought it was really clever, and the characters, so and I don't remember the character's name, but when her best friend dies.
Yes.
I, audibly, screamed.
I know. That's the thing.
I did that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, they actually had stakes. People that we were following, they actually died. Hardly anybody made it out alive.
Yeah, and, I assumed that the asshole guy who has the song about how he's a good zombie killer, I assumed he was going to die. So I was like, oh, they should have killed him right at the end of the song. That would have been funny or something. And then he ended up living, subverting my expectations. He ended up living till the end.
I know. It's so unexpected.
And I was like, wait, but the sweet guy who you want her to, wake up and realize that she's in love with him, which she never does.
Right.
Which I thought was a bold choice. And he dies, and I did that thing. Apparently this is, how my mind, goes in these, because it's, when, in Walking Dead, when, Negan hits Glenn with the bat, I was just instantly in denial, and I was just in my mind, I'm it's going to be okay, he's just going to, be missing an eye.
Yeah.
Or, it's a dream.
Right.
So when he got bit in this movie, my first reaction is oh, it's just on his hand. They're just going to cut off his hand, and it's going to be fine. But of course, he heroically, throws himself into the pit of zombies to save her life, and he dies saving her. But it was just, it was one of those times where a character dies, and I wasn't expecting him to die in that moment, and so I thought that was really well done.
It was so well done. And before I forget, this is jumping ahead, but at the end, when we're seeing everybody and where they are now, and most of them are zombies, that best friend, his sweater lights up, and he has this moment of recollection, and it's so sweet. And then also, speaking of pinky touches, the couple who become zombies together, they touch pinkies as they're passing.
Yeah, that's sweet. And I've always liked that concept of zombies sort of having that humanity still inside them, and maybe having some memories. I think it just makes it more melancholy and sweet. And yeah, I thought that was done really well. And yeah, that was such a sad scene when they're showing them all being zombies. And so what did you think about the sort of zombies themselves in this movie, comparing them to other zombies?
I thought they were great. I thought they did a good job, because I think if you're talking about making a zombie horror musical, I mean, how could you do it so it's not so cheesy? I thought they were good. I thought they were scary. And like you said, the gore, smashing the guy's head with the bowling balls, and the gut scene, when they ate the guy's guts, just in Day of the Dead, wow.
Yes, Yeah, they were good. I thought, too, they did a good job of, like, these zombies are threatening, but they don't feel as threatening to me as other zombies and certain things.
Right.
I mean, they definitely are going to kill you. But, like, for instance, they're able to distract them with television, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
So I like sort of plays on things like that, where it's like, you know, we all have a concept of what a zombie is and how they move and what they do and what they're attracted to and all that stuff. But I kind of like, you know, again, subverting expectations and sort of doing something new and tweaking something different to the zombie.
I like these other plot lines that they followed too with Anna and her dad and their relationship, and then of course it's so sad by the end. You know, her dad gets bit and dies, and then also this bad guy character of the principal, and he literally lets the zombies in because he like wants to be in control and in charge, and it just reminds me of some people who, you know, are leaders.
Yeah, yes, definitely. They're more worried about themselves than anything. But yeah, I think that for me, like I love, and I say all the time, it's about the characters, and I thought they did a really good job right away in the movie of setting up these characters and making you care. It takes like this subtle idea of how to do that, and they really did a good job. And I think that for me, I've been avoiding apocalyptic movies, and I've been avoiding the contagion, the outbreak, and stuff. And at first, there were a couple of scenes, and I was just like, oh, this is like really close to like real life, and I don't know. But then seeing her become this like badass and going around with her sharpened candy cane and killing them, that made me feel better. So I was like, okay, obviously, and I realized, you know, I'm certainly not comparing coronavirus to zombies, but basically there were just a couple scenes that were like, oh, it makes me feel like a pandemic. But then seeing her like overcome it against all odds and like become stronger, it actually did make me feel better. So then I was like, okay, I do see the appeal of watching a movie like that.
Okay, well that's good. I'm glad that I didn't like force you to do this thing.
No. No. It was good. And the fact that it was lighthearted, I think really helped too. Like it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't a deep dark movie, yet it had that gory sense to it. And I just want to say, I love that it was Christmas.
Oh, yes.
I thought that was fun.
I know. It's all these added things, all these bonus things that I loved. And I love that they had school uniforms so that they're, you know, that's almost like they're soldiers and they're in their uniforms and they're fighting the end of the world. And speaking of something a little bit too on the nose, like, did you notice the jerk guy, one of the guys that he was with had a shopping cart full of toilet paper?
Yeah. Yeah, there was definitely like a hoarding scene and then the toilet paper, and I'm just like, this feels too, you know, I guess people, they just can like completely sort of put themselves in that position, like how would you act? How would humans act? And they were right.
Yes. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And so I recommend especially if you are a musical and horror fan like I am or we are, check this movie out. It's kind of like just like a hidden gem because it's not big budget. I don't even know, you know, how many theaters it played in or anything, but it's well done. And that's the other thing. Like it couldn't have had a big budget. I couldn't even find what its budget was. Yet nothing ever looked low budget to me.
No, they definitely played it on the scale that they like could, which is in a small town, which I thought was great. I like smaller, more intimate zombie movies like that, where it's not like it doesn't matter what's happening in, you know, the rest of the world. And so yeah, no, I thought it was really well done, well directed, and I mean, imagine trying to find the right tone for like a zombie musical. But I thought they did an excellent job. It is like a little hidden gem, and we have all the time to watch it now, right?
Yes, I'm gonna rewatch it again. I think I'll watch it with Campbell, so I think he'll get a kick out of it too.
Yeah, good idea. He'll like it.
So let's rank this movie on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being you think it's a perfect movie. Should we use her sharpened candy cane?
Yes, for sharpened
for a scale.
Candy cane.
So how many sharpened candy canes do you give Anna and the Apocalypse?
I'm going to give it it was delightful. I love that it really played with different genres. I thought it gave enough of like the traditional zombie genre, but still like was its own thing, and it made me feel things. Like I got so upset when many of the characters died, actually, and I felt emotions, and that really comes, that's really at the end of the day what I'm looking for.
Yes, and I agree. I'm giving it a 9.5. I think it was nearly perfect. I enjoyed it so much. It made me feel, and it was such a surprise. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting to be mildly amused, but instead I was entertained the entire time.
Yeah.
So we both watched and read The Outsider, the Stephen King miniseries based on the book, but they changed a couple of key things. First of all, how did you like the series?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so well written and well acted. Stephen King adaptations are so all over the place. For instance, like I really enjoyed the first season of Mr. Mercedes. I could not get into the later seasons. And then like there are really bad ones, like in my opinion, like Under the Dome is like a terrible Stephen King adaptation. But this one, I think for me just felt really like, I know that Jason Bateman, I think he was the showrunner. At least he was up there. He was directing and producing it. But I felt like there was just this clear vision of the television show of what its aesthetic was, what it was saying. And they obviously used source material, and they did that very well. But it just felt like its own thing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I read that Jason Bateman said he wanted Cynthia Erivo to play Holly Gibney. And, some people were like, well, canonically, she's not, black. And he's like, nope, this is who I want. And they cast her, and she was brilliant. I loved her.
Oh, my God. Yes, she was excellent. I thought every single actor was just excellent. And, like, even with Jason Bateman, I was like, because we had read the book, I was like, okay, are they really going to kill him off as soon as he's killed off in the book? Because he's Jason Bateman.
Right.
But they did.
And,
so
and it's actually perfect casting because he has, of course, this innocence. He's Jason Bateman, but at the same time, like he's an Ozark, and you can see a little bit of bad boy in him. And so it's sort of like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? He could go either way, believably. And yes, they went for it. The other thing that they changed from the book for the show, which I appreciated, I thought it was good for character development, was that I can't think of his name now. Ralph, his son had died in the miniseries, but in the book, of course, he's just away at camp or something.
Yeah, I like that too. I thought it just gave like a gravity to what he was doing and what he and his wife were going through, and it made like his scenes with his wife more powerful, and really just sort of like explored things about grief and things like that didn't necessarily we didn't get to have in the novel. So yeah, I thought that was a really good smart way to do that. And also, I don't believe there was any sort of love story happening in the novel.
Oh, right. Yes. So I like that too.
Yeah. And that was adorable.
I love them.
So when he died, that like was like a punch to the gut. That was like the same reaction where I'm like, even though I'd read the book, I'm like, maybe he'll live.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my first reaction, but no. I don't know. I just thought there were so many powerful images, like Jason Bateman coming out of the woods with the blood on him. What else?
Oh, God. Well, that one sequence when, I can't think of his name now, the one cop, when he's getting beat up by his mother, quote unquote, but it's not really his mother, of course. And just that whole thing, I'm like, this is so Stephen King, and they got it. Like, sometimes you can't imagine how it could go to screen, but it did, and it worked.
Oh, I know. I mean, that is so funny you say that, because that's exactly how I felt. I'm like, this is such a Stephen King thing, and they nailed it. And, again, it comes down to, like, tone, understanding tone, and, like, that is something that just doesn't always translate from book to film. So, yeah, that was really well done. And just, I don't know, it's just a really well done show. And I think I said to you before, like, even though I read the book and I knew everything that was going to happen, it was so compelling. Like, I just wanted to watch more and watch more. So it must come down to something other than plot. It must be a pace at which they're doing it, or it's the acting or the writing. I don't know, but something made me want to keep watching, you know?
I think all of the above, because truly, like you said, the casting was perfect. I loved every single casting choice, and just like the scenes and the investigation, like you said, the pacing-wise, I was on the edge of my seat. And yet, yes, I knew what was going to happen. So, like, what the heck? I don't know. It was good.
Yeah. Yep, it was really, really good. So there's so many things to watch, like, and it feels good. I don't know if, you know, some people are still working and they don't have the extra time, but if you do have the extra time, finding a series like that is so nice, and it's already completed, so you can just binge it now.
That's the best. We have not started Westworld yet. We're just letting them pile up because
that's probably good.
Even in this time, like, I feel like my attention span from week to week, I don't even know what's going on in my week to week shows sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Better Call Saul, you better believe I'm watching that live every Monday.
I know, that's like such a treat right now. It's such a treat. I love that show.
And speaking of like writing and acting and pacing, that show makes the smallest low level things. It seems like the stakes are so high, and I live for it. I just love it.
Oh, the characters are so complicated. I just want to learn from like the subtlety of how characters are like. Oh, I can't even. I love that show so much.
I know. I love it too.
Thank goodness for these like small things that get us through right now.
Yes, truly. And we're so thankful that like we do get to be working at home. Our families are all healthy at the moment, and you know, we're just going to keep plugging along here. As I've mentioned before, we have recorded some episodes that are in the hopper, so you'll hear some episodes that we recorded before all the world went upside down, but otherwise we'll just keep updating you as we watch new things. So always we're looking for recommendations.
Yeah, thank you for Rewind listeners, and just don't ever feel guilty about laying on your couch and watching horror. It's what makes us feel good and makes us feel comfortable, and you can get to the other stuff later.
Yes. So until next time, we'll see you scrolling through the horror section.